Now, without further delay, I'd like to turn today's call over to your first speaker, Chuck Tomasi. Chuck, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Marvin, and hello and welcome to another episode of TechNow. I am Chuck Tomasi. Joining me today, we have Craig Stepp and a new voice you will hear. Very happy to introduce Stacey Bailey. We'll do our introductions in just a moment. Our topic today is, of course, the ServiceNow Script Debugger and how it can help you be a more effective developer and save time and headaches. And as a developer, that's what we want. As a quick rephrase, I forgot to do the intro. TechNow is the web series for ServiceNow developers and administrators on all aspects of the Now platform. So, like college, if you're in the wrong classroom, you're welcome to stay. Make sure that you get to the right place and you do understand who we're talking to and why. My name is Chuck Tomasi. As I mentioned, real quick introduction. I'm a senior TPMM with a whole lot of IT experience. Pretty much my entire career has been based around some form of IT experience. I've been a customer for a couple of years for ServiceNow before joining the company in 2010, just passed my 8-year anniversary last month. Very happy about that, and work with a bunch of wonderful people that keep this going. You can also find me on Live Coding Happy Hour. We did a show last Friday, very exciting stuff over there about the REST APIs, but not going to get into that here today. And you can also find me on the community live stream each Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. UTC. I now offer the slides to Craig Stepp to do his introduction.
Yes, and there's a beautiful picture of me and my dog. I'm the one on the left of the picture, just to let everybody know. I'm a senior curriculum developer at ServiceNow. I've been here for closing in on the 5-year mark, getting there, almost there. I've loved it. Every minute of it. There's always something, new to figure out or use within ServiceNow. This has been a fun challenge. So again, I've been here for about 4 years. I handle all the instance infrastructure. So if you've taken any of the classes that we offer at ServiceNow, any of the labs, and if you've been at Knowledge, then any of those labs, you'll see some of my handiwork on the back end. Facilitating all the curriculum developers to be able to build these labs and instructors that you see at Knowledge. So that's what I do. And as always, my hobbies are still podcasting, photography, and Linux, not necessarily in that order. And I'll turn it over to Stacey.
Hi, everyone. I am one of those curriculum developers that Craig enables, and I'm very excited to be joining you for my first TechNow. I've been in the IT industry for quite a number of years, quite a number of roles, but I've been absolutely in love with the ServiceNow platform for the last 9 years. First as a customer in an MSP, so domain separation kind of role there, then as a partner, and then finally got up to the mothership in 2014. Personally, I'm a foster parent, which takes a lot of my time, and then I am also a sucker for any kind of new technology gadget, home automation, CAD, 3D printing, anything goes. If it's got an on-off button and has code, I love it.
I love that. That's awesome. You're in good company, Stacey.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I knew we picked the right person for this show.
Total nerd and the token female.
Right.
Stacey was actually the person who did my domain separation class about 4 years ago. So, yeah, she knows her stuff, and that was kind of what led us to that. Just a quick rundown of the agenda. We do have some preliminaries to get through. We are going to cover a quick tip. The agenda says I'm going to do it. That is false. Stacey is going to do the quick tip. And then we'll get on with the main topic about the Script Debugger. One quick note, if you are entering questions into the Q&A widget on the service, the last couple of these that we did were a rude awakening experience of how many questions we got. And it was very difficult for us to keep up. I encourage the questions, but don't be insulted if we don't get to your question on the show. We could probably make a full hour or two just out of the Q&A. We will be posting this to the community on the TechNow episode. That goes with the video. We'll have the Q&A, the full description. So you can find that on the community. We'll give you another reminder and a link at the end of the show. So, yes.
Just a quick note. Hey, do you post the questions along with the person's email address that asked, or Or
no,
how's that
with the
work?
name. It will say, and if there are duplicates, I will
Okay.
deduplicate them, so don't be insulted about that. It will say your question, your name, the answer, and who answered it. So you will get Craig or Stacey or myself.
Right. All right. Well, very good. And, I alluded to earlier that I do a lot of work on the back end of the Knowledge Conference, which is where I was going with that. We must have both hit slides. There we go. So if you haven't been to the Knowledge Conference at all up until now, please make time to go next year. It's May 6th through the 9th. It's in Las Vegas once again, and it is a lot of fun. Sometimes it's like drinking from the fire hose because there's a lot going on, but it's so well worth it, especially if you're within the ServiceNow ecosystem. There's lots of labs. There's lots of people to network with, maybe a lot of people you know, or maybe some people that you need to, would be interested in meeting. There's a lot going on, so if you're into ServiceNow at all, and I imagine you are because you're on this call, this is the place to go. So now's the time, and again, it's May 6th through 9th. I know Chuck will be there, Stacey will be there, I'll be there, and actually Stacey and I are there during pre-con, which is something you may want to look at too, because that's when we offer some of our normal training classes that we offer early on before the actual conference starts, so you can get a head start on everybody at the conference.
You may be asking yourself, why are we talking about this 10 months ahead of time? Because this is the time to set your 2019 budget.
We're talking about 10 months ahead of time because we have to talk about it 10 months ahead of time, so you can get in and get your reservations at worst case. So it's a fantastic event, and I've gotten a lot out of it myself, even being on the back end and sitting on a couple classes and stuff. And it's just good to be around everybody face to face rather than, face to email interface. So, all right, over to Stacey.
Translate those.
We'll go to Stacey.
Into nice to translate those avatars that we see online into real people.
I think we call that meat space. Right.
All right. Also, based on some feedback that Chuck shared earlier, we wanted to take a look at the Customer Success Center. This was something that John Donahoe launched at Knowledge 18 in Las Vegas. And there's a lot of really, really good information. Over the past decade or so, ServiceNow has developed many, many communication channels, such as the Hi server for technical support, the Wiki, and then Docs for product documentation, and community. That's expanded greatly over the past couple years to include the developer portal, YouTube channels, training and certification, et cetera. So even for those of us who've been around the platform for a number of years, we can kind of keep pace with it, but it becomes fairly overwhelming for people new to the platform. So the Customer Success Center was launched as a way to curate content from all of these different channels, align them along business journey. So in here, you'll see plan, deploy, optimize, and extend. Everything in the customer service portal is based upon what business goals customers are trying to achieve. It goes well beyond what buttons to click and includes prescriptive guidance in a very easy-to-digest, plain language format, so you don't have to know ServiceNow terminology to really understand this and drive from the business goal that you're trying to achieve down to the hardcore technical content. So this content is curated and updated on a regular basis. You can see we're soliciting content right here in the front. You can drill down into a number of individual product lines, use cases, industries, et cetera. There are good customer stories. There are also calculators to anticipate the ROI of implementing particular solutions based on your current environment. One of the things that came up in a previous TechNow was upgrades as well. If we drill down into platform overview, you can see a lot of really good information in here about the platform, how to achieve success with it. But you can also get into prescriptive guidance for upgrading the platform and for maintaining it and tuning it on a regular basis. one of the things that I find very useful as well in cloud infrastructure here, we see a lot of really good information about ServiceNow's nonstop cloud architecture, compliance, and security authorizations, data centers, and then we've got featured content. There are many white papers and ebooks here that you can download, and I consider this required reading for anybody getting into ServiceNow. Talks about our data security, authentication methods, encryption options, platform availability, high availability, security testing, how to do customer penetration testing. So this is just packed full with information that anybody who dives deeply into ServiceNow from a developer, architect, or platform owner perspective absolutely needs to know. And like I said, there's a lot of good information. It's constantly curated and updated, so check it out and check often. There's also in Explore, Trends and Perspectives, where we've curated industry articles that are very relevant as we dive into machine learning and artificial intelligence and the future of computing in general. So again, check out the Customer Success Center. The URL for it, of course, is just www.servicenow.com/success. So it's very easy to find. Moving on to our community quick tip for the day. Our quick tip for today is adding the description field for business rules. And there's actually a quote that I've heard many times over the year. As a developer, always code as if the guy who ends up maintaining your code is a violent sociopath who knows where you live.
Wow.
So
you have a source on that. Author unknown, of course.
There are actually two guys that this might be attributed to, but I couldn't find any definitive source. But I think it goes well as a life lesson. You know, not only code smart, comment your code, and make it easy to find. One of the other things that I always like to say, too, is if you have an issue, you want to be able to call high support and have the person on the other end of the phone be able to immediately understand what you've done in the platform, any customizations that you've run, so that they can zero in on the problem and help you get back in business as quickly as possible. So one way of helping out your psychopathic successor as well as tech support is to add the description to the business rule field. And this is something that you can do for lots of different things. Here, as we just scroll through the business rules, you can see there are over 3,000 in here, and I don't have a lot of plugins enabled here. Sometimes the name is helpful, sometimes not. Since this is the first time I am joining here, I am going to pick on Chuck. But just to open up one of these business rules, we can see, you can kind of see what the name is, and then you have to kind of parse the code to understand what's going on and cross your fingers that people have commented it. One of the nice things that we can do is add that description field. So for example, I was digging into Chuck's application to manage this podcast. He's got two business rules in here. One says, set quick tip states. And I actually had to use the Script Debugger to truly understand what this business rule is doing. So I'm going to show you something that we can do very easily. It is a customization to the form, which means that you will not inherit updates on an upgrade, but the risk of doing this is very minimal. So on the business rule form, I'm actually in Global since this form is managed in Global. I should be doing this within an update set, but I can right-click, configure form design, wait for that to load, and there already is a description field on the business rule table. So I can add a new section. I'm going to say this is one column instead of two, and I don't really want a title on there. From there, just drag and drop the description field, which became filter conditions. Where'd it go? Let me refresh that. Getting too click happy. All right.
Because you're picking on my application.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to erase the section name. I won't click as quickly. Drag description.
Filter conditions. That's weird.
That's crazy.
Hey, try adding it, or you can't.
Oh, Plan B, form layout.
Plan B. Yep, you got it. All right. So form design is new. Form layout is the old tried and true thing. And there's our description field already in there.
Form designer has issues.
I betcha I know. I betcha I am in a scope. Okay, so now we've got this description field in here. It's on the default view. So if I go into Chuck's application again here, I should see that in an editable format. And now that I've used the Script Debugger to really understand what this does, I'm going to put a good description in here to explain what this does. And now if I'm looking at the business rules just in a list view, I can then take a look and quickly understand what that does. So I've got the list view here. The description doesn't show. I could personalize it and show that here. But if we're looking to help our successors and other developers understand what we've done, personalizing this for an individual probably the best way. We'd want to right-click and configure the list layout instead. So the pros of doing this, again, are that you can help your successors and other ones. It is a customization, but if we imagine the types of customizations that we do to the platform in a pyramid, the lowest level being the lowest risk, this is definitely a low risk. We're not going to compromise system integrity on an update or an upgrade rather because we've added this description field. On the other hand, this will not automatically, this form will not automatically inherit changes to the form layout when we do an upgrade. However, if we go back into our configure form layout, this is something that we can easily revert. Back on form layout, if I can move my On24 screen sharing, we have a related link at the bottom to show versions. And I could see my changes, but then I can see here's my London update. Right-click, and I can revert to that version if I wanted to get rid of it and go back to my baseline capability. So again, form layout, form design, add that, maybe customize your list view. And then if you want to also, the view that you get when you hover over the reference icon, this is called your sys pop-up view. And it may be helpful to have the description right there as well so that you don't have to scroll through this interface.
Yes. Yes, I agree with that.
So this form actually already has a sys pop-up already enabled, but you can manipulate the URL and add your own sys pop-up for tables that don't have a sys pop-up view. So yeah, I would definitely do this for both the default view and sys pop-up. That way you can kind of preview if it's not in the list view.
Good point. I hadn't thought of the sys pop-up one. Thank you.
Yeah, neither have I.
It may seem like a trivial thing to do. Is like why doesn't ServiceNow put the description field on there itself? It's on pretty much every other field that has a comment or description. I have been asking this of our developers for at least 5 years, and it hasn't come along yet. So I would reduce that risk even lower that it's going to happen in the future. But I'm glad you showed us the revert option as well to go back into the versions. Thank you, Stacey. You're going to have to release screen control so we can go back to the slides. Thank you. All right. So let's get on with the script debugger. Stacey mentioned this as she was going through that, as she was lambasting my horrible coding practices. But now that we have the description field on our instance on our application to manage this show, I feel obligated to use it now. So I'm definitely going to get in that practice. Thank you for underscoring the importance of that so that my future psychopathic self doesn't go all ape on me. Because I'm usually the victim of my own coding practices. We all be talking about? Yes, we are. I don't know if anybody else is ever going to maintain the TechNow application. But I do want to talk about this. The scripting debugger came out in Istanbul. So that is about 18 months prior to when this is being recorded. Istanbul came out in early 2017. And it's one of those underappreciated features that came out in the platform. A few things you can do with it. I'm not going to read this slide bullet for bullet. You're all intelligent grown-ups. I assume you can read. And it allows you to take a server-side script that's running interactively, like a business rule or a UI action or script include, and make the system stop at a particular line. We call that a breakpoint. So you're going to be running through your test process and say, boom, it just stopped. I did a quick demo of this on a community live stream just an hour or so ago. And it was very encouraging to see that, yes, it still works the way I expect it to. So it allows you to get that control. And prior to the scripting debugger, we would often have to put in debug statements, GS, debug, GS, print, GS, info, whatever those outputs were, and then run to the log and see if we got our desired output. This accelerates that process because you can stop the code and walk through it. Now, it doesn't stop it for everybody. If anybody else is on the system and they're running your business rule, fine. It'll run for them whether it works properly or not. Let's get the essentials out of the way. I do like to mention this. This is something we added recently. It is available in Istanbul and later, so we can stop a bunch of Q&A in there with common questions. The price, no additional cost for the debugger. It's part of the platform. It does require a plugin, which is generally activated on all instances, but if for some reason you don't see the debugger, there's your information of go to system definition plugins, look for that particular plugin, and you can activate it. It's been turned on automatically for anyone upgrading to Istanbul or later, and it's available on all new instances. So there shouldn't be any reason why you're not there. It does require either the admin or script_debugger role to use this, which, no surprise, you don't want your end users running scripts. Okay. It does run on server-side scripts only. So that means it's not going to work on your client scripts. It's not going to work on scripts in UI policies. It's not going to work on anything that's not interactive, including workflows. Interactive means somebody's at the keyboard, somebody's running a browser, somebody sees this in real time. Workflows run in the background. Scheduled jobs run in the background. So you won't be able to debug the scheduled job. I've got an alternative for that. If you're interested, reach out to me. We can do that. Script includes has an asterisk nearby it. And unfortunately, I didn't put an asterisk to explain what that was about at the bottom. I just noticed that. But it is for server-side scripts. You can do client-side script debugging. I'm sorry, you cannot do debugging on client scripts called from Ajax. If you structure this properly, your client scripts will call a server script, and then your client, a client script will do a blind Ajax call to a client-side script include. I got to say this right. Make sure I get it right. And then
are you okay?
Yeah, I'm hurting myself really bad here. That Ajax script include will then call a server script include. It's another layer of abstraction, but it allows you to do that debugging that way. So just wanted to call that out, where it reaches and where it doesn't. I did have a question in the live stream this morning. Does it work on service portal widgets? You cannot set breakpoints in the widget editor. However, you can set it on the widget form. That being said, I did a test, and I was not able to get it to stop at that breakpoint. So there might be something going on in the background, a detachment of what is the current session, is it interactive, that kind of thing, with Service Portal. So at this point, the answer is no Script Debugger on the server component of a Service Portal widget. Whew, I got to talk slow or I really hurt myself. I want to go into a demo real quick. Let me do the screen share. Get this up here because you all came here to see the actual circus happen, not just talk about it. This is one of those things that's far more interesting.
Dance for me, Loki.
Yeah, I'm dancing. You keep an eye on the Q&A. My use case actually came from our community, and somebody said, hey, I need to extend the number system of my table. I accidentally made it 5, and I needed 7, or I made it 7, I need 9 digits of precision. Well, if you go to the table definition, we'll go there with configure, table, and you realize your mistake, and say, under the table definition, there's control. You say, great, let's change this to 7. Well, that's all fine and dandy for new records. New records will come out with the proper amount of numbers, but existing records still have their old numbering mechanism. This happened to be when I was a customer. I think we started out with 5 or 6. It was 6 and they needed to go to 7 or 9 or whatever it was. I needed to increase this. And I said, well, how do I get these existing records to say DEM 001004? I need a couple of leading zeros in there. These are strings. The number field is a string and it's automatically generated when you create a new record, as evidenced by this. See, number 13 is going to get us a new record with the proper numbering. We can create this new record, water on the floor. You'll see my crazy naming mechanism here. And there's my new record. But the older ones are not updated. So I said, I know, I will create a script and renumber this. I exposed it in a UI action for demo purposes. Normally you run this once and it's done. Whether you do that with a fixed script or a background script doesn't matter. But I hit renumber and it immediately says, you have a problem. And this one's pretty easy to fix. Apparently somewhere I said, renumber, I spelled number wrong. The name of the field is incorrect. So if I go into Studio and take a look at the renumber UI action, that's that red button at the top, and it calls a script. Look at me, I didn't put comments in there again. Shame on me for this demo. It calls a script include called renumber. And then the renumber just says run. It has a function in there called run, passes the table name and a field name, and oops, well, that's an easy problem to fix. I didn't need a debugger for that. I update that, save it, and try it again. You know what? Just for, I hit renumber, and it says object records renumbered. All right, what happened? Whoa. That's a terrible renumbering scheme. and just for grins, that's my new record, so it's really making a mockery of that. I'm going to go back to my original data set here. Do this again, and I'll show you what happened. It said, undefined DEM. Something is broken in here, and I don't know what it is. Now, I could start going into my script include that the UI action is calling, and go, oh man, this is kind of a mess. What? Oh, whew. And do what Stacey did and run the script debugger and step through it step by step. I want to know what's going on in here. So I am going to set a breakpoint. Apparently I already did this once. But all I have to do that and say, hey, script debugger, stop right here. I'm going to put it on the first line and just click the line number. You see I get that blue tag. I could have multiples in case I'm inside of an if statement. I want to see if that if statement was triggered. I could put it there. What you don't want to do is put it on a comment, because the breakpoint doesn't run comments. It just skips right over it. The debugger goes, yeah, that's nice. So now that I've got my breakpoint set, I want to tell the script debugger can be found underneath System Diagnostics, Script Debugger. I happen to favorite it. It's one of my favorite things, so that I have it on my favorites over here. And I bring it up. And it brings up this other window and says, yep, I'm just going to sit here, hang out, be happy with watching for these breakpoints. You happen to have only one at the moment. It's in the script include called renumber on line 24. Wow, it's so smart. It knows what I did. And I need to fix this. Let's go back to my, renumber this, go back to my original data set again. I'm going to try and find that. Now that I have a breakpoint set and the script debugger out here in the open, I'm going to make that a little larger so we can see all the goodness that it brings to us. I'm going to hit renumber, and it goes, hey, I hit your breakpoint. Let's start debugging. So you click the blue button, and it says, there's where you told me to stop. I'm happily waiting for you right here. This is your script include. This is where you told me to stop. Over on the right, I have all of my variables. Digits, which was passed in as a parameter to this function. Table name, that's the table I'm going to renumber, et cetera, et cetera. I even have a test argument here that says true. And what test does is it only renumbers one record. Good standard practice, if you're testing things out and you don't know if they're working or not, don't run it across all your records, run it across a small subset, in this case, one. And I do that with a glide record query that you'll see in a minute. Now, over on the left is a little more technical information. I don't glance over here as much on a personal basis, but I can see the stack of how this was set up. The UI action is calling the script include. If I really went in depth, I could trace this down even further. I obviously have my breakpoints over there. And I have the details about this transaction, how it was called, the URL, all kinds of different things that are going on. That might help me debug this even further. But again, I rarely use this information. If you want to dig into that, have at it. It's not the focus of what I wanted to do today.
No, but it's good insight, though.
It is good insight, yeah. And you know, support may use it as a method too. The controls for walking through the code are up here. I have pause to pause the debugging in case it was running away. I don't know. I've got resume, which will run to the next breakpoint. Now, I only have one breakpoint, so hitting this play button at this point would just say, go ahead, finish the job, which sort of defeats the purpose of me stopping. I want to analyze what's going on. I obviously have this crazy problem going on with my renumbering algorithm. I've got step over, and these are all associated with hotkeys, and they will come up. This one says option F9 will do this. But step over says when you get to a function call, if it's something that I can drill into, and the something being, is it in a script include? Is it in this particular function? Is it JavaScript that you have access to see and run? Then it will go, it will not drill into that function. That's the difference between these two right here. This is step into, saying go into this function, watch it run. What are the variables of that function? How are they doing? I want to analyze this step by step. But if you've already unit tested that function and you've got confidence that it's working the way it should, you can step over it to save yourself some time. Otherwise, you could find yourself going down this recursion of this function calls that, going into that function, step, step, step. This function calls another function. And you can find yourself 6, 7 levels deep without any great value. It's just time consuming at that point. Or when am I ever going home to level 1? And then if you're done, you can step out of the current function. I, in this case, want to step into. If there is no function, either of these two will do the same thing. It'll go on to the next line. So I should see run test as a Boolean be set here. And there's run test now set to true. And stepping into and stepping over do exactly the same thing here. It sets up a message in an array. That's what I use for my error messages. So if I don't have a table name, I'm going to error out. And the quickest way to do that is push something in the array. A little later, I check and see if the array is greater than 1. If it does error out, I get a whole litany of what was wrong. I may have forgotten multiple arguments, whatever happens. So just debugging my own script to make sure that the person is using this function correctly. Let's go down here. I got a table name. I got a field name. I've got digits. So it's not going into these if statements, obviously. The digits are greater than 0. So I said, I want to, it wouldn't make much sense to say, hey, my prefix is DEM1004. That's 4 digits. Let's make it -3 digits. That's an invalid value. So I need to check for some of this stuff. Now, here is a function call. Prefix equals this underscore get prefix. I'm going into the number management table, the number maintenance, I should say, number maintenance table, where tables keep track of their numbers. When you saw me go into that table definition and change it from 4 to 7 earlier, that's actually updating a record in number maintenance, which can be found under system definition number maintenance. And if I look at what was updated recently, I can see that my demo record has been updated. This is the prefix, and I want to strip that off and understand it as a separate component so I can get my hands on the number and then pad the number. That's my algorithm here, is I'm taking the existing string, breaking the string, the DEM prefix from the actual number part. Okay, back to the debugger. I want to step into this function, and it says, pass me the table name, and I'll take care of the rest. I'll tell you what the prefix was. And it goes in here, and it says, go get a glide record on the maintenance table, and maintenance table I defined up on top. It says number. Okay, that looks good. Again, I can keep an eye on what these variables are doing on the side over here. So I should have a numgr instantiated. Ta-da! There it is. And I do a query to say, go get the record where the table is the table name. And it says, for every record you find, and then I notice it skipped right over that. It never got the prefix. Something's wrong here, which is why this function is returning an undefined into the prefix variable. If I go to the next statement, it'll show me that. That prefix is undefined. That's why it came back as undefined DEM 1004. Aha! I think I've got a line on this. Something's wrong with that query. The debugger has helped me find that. I don't have a whole bunch of debug statements in here going, here's the value of this, and why is it undefined? And you run it over and over and over. So if I go to my script include, the actual factual script include, and I go to get prefix, this seems right. I mean, Craig, do you see anything wrong with that query statement?
But that query statement,
looks fine to me. Why didn't it get a record?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason is very subtle. If I drill into this record, there's the table field. Labels are not the same as field names.
Absolutely.
This happens in the dictionary too. You may find it's not called field, it's called element. It's not called table.
And a lot of times, I was going to say, a lot of times this will happen if you have a form that represents fields from two different tables, you know, so, you know, who knows what they named it.
So, you know, this happens when I'm scripting. I just go, okay, I want the table, the prefix, the number field, and you start going, oh, then you don't trust yourself. You go, okay, prefix is prefix, number is number. So why is table category? I don't know. Go back and ask Fred Letty from 2004 or 5. He'll tell you.
Right.
But it also tells me that all I need to do is change this to category, save that, and let's continue running this. It's going to run my bad use case, which I will go and fix my data source, TN54, my original data. It's still bad because I finished a bad run. I knew that was going to happen. Fix this up, and let's try Renumber again. Do you want to start debugging? Sure, why not? In this case, let's go run. I probably should have moved my breakpoint a little bit down to solve this problem. No problem there. Did I get my prefix? I got my prefix. I walked right over it and I didn't see. Now my prefix is actually DEM. That means this part down here can make sense of when it's processing the record, and it says, replace the prefix with nothing, now get the digits and pad them and put the prefix back on. This code is going to run exactly as I expect. There is one other thing that I should probably do to prevent myself from that happening again, and that would be, look, it works. I've got 7 digits of padding. Not according to the sys number table, which would have been a better place to get it, but it's actually according to my Renumber UI action, which said, I want 7 digits of precision right there. Oops, I deleted it and then put back. So that's who's driving the number of digits. Would have made more sense to say, hey, what does this number say I should get it from? I forgot where I was going. Oh, a safeguard against anybody messing with that again would be to go into my script include, and where I get the prefix, where's my prefix? This prefix would be to add a little code in here to say, look, if a number wasn't found, I'm going to do the error out thing. Unable to look up prefix for table, blah, blah, blah. And that would steer me in the direction to go, you know what? I better look. Something's really askew here. Either this number table is whacked, my script is whacked, something's not working. So anytime you believe you have a value, you might want to double check it. That's just good coding practice right there. All right. So again, no issues with that. I do have one other use case, and I was saving this just in case we have time, and we do. Let me remove that breakpoint. I have a UI action on that same form.
Hey, by the way, hold on one second. So we had one question, and I was trying to remember this myself. But if you're looking at the Script Debugger, and say you have some breakpoint, as you said, can you remove them from here, or do you have to go back to the original script to remove them?
I don't believe so, but let's find out. Let's go to my script include, and that's not the script include that I'm after. This is the script include. Someone waved their Jedi hands in front of my face. This is not the script include
you're looking for.
Right. And I place a breakpoint there. The Script Debugger recognizes it. See how it pulls up? And it registers in the breakpoints. You want to know, can you turn it off here? It says yes, but what I noticed is it's still here. Now, if I
refresh that page. Yeah.
Right. Reload the form. Is it still on 48? It is not. Okay. Yes, you can control them there.
So that'd be handy if you have several breakpoints in several different scripts and they're all related or something.
Exactly. Or you're doing your, like I did a minute ago. I said, I really should have moved the breakpoint. Why didn't I just move it there then? That would have been a better way to do it.
And I think we had, before we move along, one more thing was I've seen several people ask, and I think the obvious answer is yes, but can you use the Script Debugger for global stuff or only scoped apps or what?
Global or scope, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I ran this morning in a demo on the one of the business rules on the incident table for setting a resolved state. And I said, let's put a breakpoint there and see what happens. And it would stop, no problem. So you definitely want to be in the scope that you're using to debug. But excellent question. Thank you.
And I have one more quick question. I don't know if it's quick, but if it's not, we'll push it off to the replying after the show. But if you had a catalog item that calls a workflow, and the workflow calls maybe some script includes, would those get debugged too? I know in the workflow, I don't think it debugs like actions, but if you call a script include, maybe.
My understanding is no, because the script include is just a library, and it's being used by the workflow, which is happening in the background. So I can double check that, but my instinct right now is no.
I think it has to be running in your as a current user or something, right? Okay.
Yep. I am just going to turn the test mode on this UI action off and show you that it will do exactly what I want. It won't affect number 1004. I run it, and did I save that? I saved it. Apparently I didn't test it. Test mode is false. Should have got all the records. Let's do it again. Object records renumbered. That's a terrible output message. All right. We'll figure out what the rest of that renumbering code is later. On to the second use case. Sorry for all the flipping back and forth. In here, I have the ability to take one of these demo issues, glass in the driveway, and send it to IT. Let's say for whatever that's an IT issue. And my UI action, as I look over in Studio, is all encapsulated in the script. It does not include a script include. Now, if I run the script, it's going to create a new incident on the incident table prefixed with demo. Get rid of that. With demo and the short description from the demo record. Also carry over the assigned to, place that in the caller ID, and the description becomes the description. So I'm taking 3 values from one record to another. Great example of the value of ServiceNow all being on one platform. We're not writing any crazy integration between my IT system and my safety system and my legal system. It's all on one. I can just create a quick UI action. Then I display a message. Then I'm going to update the current record so that the comments and the state are set to closed. All right. Now, if you're a real sharp eye, you may have recognized something, the issue with this whole process. But I'll demonstrate it and say, I want to send this over to IT. So I click that. Hey, there's my incident. It even took me there. How lovely. Okay. The short description is correct. The caller is Craig because it was assigned to him. What else did we set? The description field, which I don't see on here. Apparently we need another description. We'll call Stacey. She's good at putting description fields on stuff. If I go back to my demo record of 1004, I realize it's still open. Something's wrong with my UI action. It's not finishing the job. It's not closing the door behind. It says, look, it's now an IT issue. I don't care anymore in this table. Let's just close it. Something's wrong with that UI action. So we know that this part works fine. We're creating the incident. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes. We'll set a breakpoint there, for example. Okay. Let's try it again. Send to IT. The script debugger says, hey, I hit a breakpoint. You were doing something. Let's continue on. I set the breakpoint, and it stops right where I wanted on the message. Let's take a look at, there's my incident slide record that it created. We know that works, so I don't really need that. The message is going to be created here. Ta-da, incident created. That's what it displayed at the top of the screen when it runs line 11. Then we get to line 14. Oh, and by the way, I meant to say this. If I look at system logs, I have a GS info statement in there that says the state was updated. If I look in the system logs, it says, look, I sent this to IT and the current state is 7, which is closed. So if the debug statement says it's closed, why doesn't the record say that it's closed? Well, let's take a look. Let's step by step. Here's update the record. Oh. Then it sets the comments and the state. Anybody see the issue with that logic? Greg must be off answering questions.
I'm trying to answer questions. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stacey.
What's the issue, Stacey?
Yeah. After you do the update, it's too late to set the state in the comments. That's
exactly. I might have had, the cat jump on my lap and interrupt me, whatever I was doing when I was coding. At first glance, it looks pretty logical, but then when you get past it, as she said, I said the update, and then I set some fields. That's backwards. That's not what I want.
Well, it still works. It still works. It's just not in the right order.
No, it doesn't work because the end result is wrong. And what's even more confusing is my info statement is saying invalid information. So in this case, debug statements are not helping me at all. It says, oh yeah, current state is 7. Not according to the database, it's not. So let's continue on with that. We'll do one more invalid run, go back to our UI action, and do 2 things. 1, move this where it's supposed to be, set the comment, set the state, then we update the record. And you know what? This isn't doing me any good. I don't even want it. I've got the script debugger to tell me life is good. Let's go on. And of course, when we go back to our demo record, TM54, we're going to find number 1004 still open from that second attempt. Attempt number 3, we hit send to IT. We want to start debugging. I probably should have turned the breakpoint off, but okay, whatever. Let's just hit play. I'm done. Now we'll take the breakpoint out. How's that? It says incident was created. Again, I've got Craig. I've got the short description. Life is good. Go back to my demo record, and 1004 is now closed. So the debugger not only helped me understand logic that was happening, but it also debunked some false information on the screen, in the logs. GS info was not being too kind to me. All right, that is the end of my demo. I'm going to wrap this up with the takeaways. Thank you very much for watching, by the way, if you made it this far. The Script Debugger is really there to save you time and, of course, money. Breakpoints are persistent, as we saw. They will stay. If I save this application and I log out and I come back tomorrow, breakpoints will still be there until somebody removes those breakpoints. So if Craig was running and he didn't have the debugger up, it doesn't matter if the breakpoints are there or not. It's just going to seamlessly run. You have to have the debugger on the screen and the breakpoint set for the debugger to actually kick into gear. And it works on those interactive server scripts, according to that table before and the evidence that we saw. Some reference information that I encourage you to look at. We've got our doc site, which goes into the Script Debugger in great detail. We've got wonderful information over on the ServiceNow community. The developer site, if you want to get started and grab a personal developer instance, I encourage you to do that. Free personal developer instance. You can run Istanbul, Jakarta, or Kingston, try out new features, turn on plugins, test things out outside of your own development environment. So if you're just doing a proof of concept and things go sideways, you can always wipe and restart or throw it away and claim another instance. Doesn't matter. I encourage you to do that. And again, getting back to last month's comments, people were asking for content that we've already covered in previous episodes. We've been doing this show since early 2013 with over 50 episodes. There's a lot of great content. People say, hey, can you talk about script includes? Like, yep, already done that. Can you talk about ATF? Yep, already done that. Service portal? Yep, already done that a number of times. So I encourage you to watch that. This also has, as we get closer to the next episode in August, we'll be on the London platform feature. So very, very much looking forward to regrouping with the team. We'll have a special guest with us and getting to that. So you might want to bookmark that, keep it in your history. All of the code is available that I've shown on here from GitHub, the complete application with the demo records in it if you wanted to look at that last link. And again,
and where can they find that?
What, the code? At that GitHub link at the bottom.
Okay.
So tn54.git on my personal account. So I saved that exact application with the demo data and the bugs. I want you to find those bugs and fix them, test them. You can go through the exact same steps that I just did over at that GitHub account. If we didn't get to your Q&A, we will be posting that to the community. That bit.ly ServiceNow TechNow link will take you there as well. So again, thank you for joining us. On behalf of Craig and Stacey, I thank you again and look forward to seeing you either in real life at a developer meetup or on the next TechNow, the community live stream. We do so love your interaction. Thank you very much for joining us.